My name is Brian Kachejian. I'm with ClassicRockHistory.com. And today I'm very excited to have with me here Roger Earl of Foghat, rock and roll royalty, a true legend. There he is. He's always got a drumstick in his hand, no matter where he goes. Roger, thanks for coming to the show today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Brian. I'm down in Florida at the moment, so it's a nice day. It's nice and warm, and we're doing some rehearsing for our upcoming shows. Actually relearning a couple of songs on the current album, Magic Mojo. No, Mojo what? Sonic
Mojo.
Sonic.
Yeah.
Sonic Mojo. Come on. We all know what we're doing here. And we're relearning some stuff. We've already added 3 of the songs from the new album in our set, and we're doing a show on the 12th of November at the Iridium in New York City.
Yes, that's right down near in Times Square, I believe.
Yeah.
That's
hallowed ground. It is hallowed ground because who used to play there once a week?
Oh, was it Les Paul? I think that might have played.
That's exactly. I was waiting for you to say it. Les Paul, one of the all-time greatest guitar players out there. Actually, he's so great that my parents were fans of Les Paul and Mary Ford. I remember growing up and listening to How High the Moon and a whole bunch of cool stuff like that. I don't think I appreciated it that much then, but Les Paul was an absolute genius, and by all accounts, an absolutely fabulous person.
An innovator in so many ways.
You know? Yeah. Rewrote electric guitar playing and electric guitars. So I don't want to talk about guitars. I'm a drummer.
Yeah, I'm a piano player, so I guess.
Are you really?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, I wanted
right here.
I would understand. My piano's on the other side of the room. I can play a 12 bar in the key of C.
Well, that's all you need. You can play 20,000 songs then.
No, I can play 2 or 3, a slow blues, a little bit of a boogie woogie thing, and that's it. My father was a piano player, not professionally, but he used to play in a couple of pubs and stuff locally. My older brother was a professional piano player, Colin O. He played in Mungo Jerry in the summertime. Yeah.
One of the all-time great summer songs.
Yeah, well, also piano is a percussive instrument, isn't it?
Yeah, there's the connection right there.
So we're kind of related, aren't we?
Every drummer I've ever met plays a little piano. Every single drummer.
It's in the blood. It's in the blood.
It's in the blood. We like hitting things, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And every drummer I've ever met pretty much has a lot of personality too. It always seems to be the personality in the band is sitting behind that kit.
Oh, I don't really want to be here anymore.
Well, there you go.
I really hate my job. No, are you kidding? We have fun. We kick things, we crash things, we hit stuff, because it's frowned upon if you start hitting people with sticks. So hitting drums is a good idea. Now I'm one of those fortunate few in this world gets to earn a living doing something that I love doing. I'm playing a rock and roll band. I mean, how bad is that, right?
It's the greatest thing in the world. I mean, to be able to do what you love, Then
it's not work. Actually, we get paid for traveling, sitting in trains, sitting in planes, sitting in cars. For that hour and 15, hour and 45 every night, we do it for free. I shouldn't really say that on air, should I? Because people will start saying, well, we don't have to pay Foghat. Yes, you do. Because air flights are a fortune these days. And renting cars, that's expensive too. Oh, well, it's such as life.
You got to eat, right?
Yeah, you got to eat, yeah.
Yeah.
The kids are all grown up, so don't have to worry about them. They're happy and grown up. I have 3 daughters.
Are they musicians too?
No, thank God for that. And none of them went out with like musicians either. Oh, no, not the drummer. Oh, what are you doing, darling? Don't do that. No, they've done really well. They picked really nice husbands. I was a little worried about the youngest one for a while because she would sort of pick guys that sort of needed looking after. I'm going, oh God, no, but eventually she found somebody who is an absolute prince. And actually all my daughters are. That's what a father wants, like his daughters to be happy and to marry sort of real men that are kind and love them. So I'm very fortunate in that order.
Oh, that's good to hear. I think it's a common story with, the kids of any parent who's a professional musician who does music for a living. They tend to not want to follow in the footsteps. Not all of them, but because they see what the life is like.
Actually, my youngest daughter, I bought her a snare drum once when she was about 8 or 9. And, because she enjoyed sort of banging on stuff. And they used to come, my middle and my youngest daughter, well, actually, they all came on the road with me at various times in their lives. So they got to see what it was about. When we had a bus, the two youngest ones, what were they? They would be like 4 and 7 or 5 and 8, somewhere around there. Of course, they'd have a bunk or they would take over the back lounge in the bus. And in the mornings, the bus driver would get to the gig or the hotel and he'd have chocolate milk and donuts for them. They thought that was great.
Yeah. The simple things like that kids love.
Yeah. It was really cool going on the road. Yeah, we have chocolate milk and donuts for breakfast, Mum.
I guess Mom wasn't too happy about that. But
no, Mum was fine. Their mothers are okay, actually. They both forgiven me.
So now you're in. Well, let me ask you something about the new album because you just mentioned that you were having to relearn the songs. Is this an album you've been working on for a couple of years?
Yeah, our last studio album was 7 years ago, and of course there was COVID sort of was in between then and now. That couple of years that took a whole bunch of the life out of everything actually. We started in earnest about 3 years ago. We'd already laid down 2 or 3 songs we'd forgotten about. We have our own studio down in DeLand, Florida. It's in the middle of nowhere on like 10 acres. We have bears and deer and one panther that we've seen photographed, which is very unusual. And we make as much noise as you want. There's a couple of neighbors not too far away. They keep an eye on the place. And it's fun. We have, hold on a second, can I? There's some of the drums over there. Actually, we've sort of taken it down a little bit, but there we go. All right. It's really comfortable. Brian Bassett, our lead and slide guitar player, is also our engineer and producer. So it's all done in-house. Our incredible manager does all the artwork.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, look.
A gatefold.
The gatefold. And there's stories.
Look at that.
None of this, like the black cover, the white cover, the purple cover. No, there's always stories. Oh, is the pièce de résistance. Purple vinyl.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's
how you do it now. In 2023, that's how you sell an album. Of course, the music is
180 gram.
Yeah. Is that the first Foghat gatefold album?
No, we've had a couple actually.
Recently, I guess, right?
Since our original lead singer, Lonesome Dave, passed, was it 23 years ago, we've done 4 studio albums since then, and we've done 4 live albums as well. I mean, we're a live band. That usually comes about if we do a show and they have decent recording equipment there, and they say, "You want the live tapes?" We go, "How were we?" They said, "You played great." So we put them out, and every year we change the set around. We had like 5 or 6 different songs to the set. Of course, there's 5 or 6 songs that we will always play. I don't have a problem with that. But yeah, the new album, Sonic Mojo, was the last 3 years when we actually got down to sort of finishing it off and doing something. And I'm really, really, really pleased with the way it turned out. You know, Foghat and the music that we all play and have grown up with, it started with, well, American music started with the blues, as far as I'm concerned, then jazz, rock and roll, bebop, country, hillbilly music, gospel music. America has this wonderful amalgamation of all those wonderful things, and all of a sudden it becomes American music. This country influences the rest of the world with that beautiful mixture of stuff. I mean, it comes, you know, obviously without the Africans, we'd be nothing. And then the Europeans come over from with folk music and tunes and melodies from Scotland, Ireland, England, France, and Spain too. And it's this thing. Also,
this melting pot of culture.
Yeah, melting pot. That's a good word, isn't it? Maybe the next album will be called Melting Pot. No, I don't think so. That doesn't have quite the same ring as Sonic Mojo, does it?
It's hard to beat that, man. Yeah, listen, just those two words alone are pretty powerful. You put them together.
Actually, our manager who designed the album cover and did all the hard work. Here we go. Sonic is an adjective, a frequency within the audibility range of the human ear of waves and vibrations. All right. Mojo, a charm or an amulet thought to have magic powers.
I don't know. Whenever I hear Mojo, I think Austin Powers. I can't help it.
No, you're right. You know,
nobody ever said that word better than Austin Powers.
Yeah, I think he was he English?
Oh yeah, well, he was playing. You know, it was in London. It was all based in London. He was British. I mean, it was a tribute to the James Bond movies of the '60s, a spoof on them.
They weren't funny. They were serious stuff. He was murdering people and having illicit sex. No, gratuitous sex all the time, wasn't he? James Bond.
Yeah.
What a job.
Well, that's why the problem with Austin Powers was he lost his mojo and he was trying to find it back.
Oh, no, well, we haven't lost ours. We've always had our mojo. About music. Yeah, music is fun. Without music, I think life would be a mistake.
This was, to me, one of the greatest albums ever released.
Yeah, we were pretty good back then. It was, you know, when we were doing that record, I think we just finished doing the Night Shift album, and we were due for back then we had to make at least one or one and a half, right, 1.5 records a year, whatever that meant. And Rod, Lonesome Dave and Rob Price were struggling to put some new material together. You know, you can only write so many songs. And our front of house engineer, Bob Coffey, would give me cassettes every night. And I would listen to it just to check out, make sure the tempos were okay. There used to be a lot of youthful enthusiasm. So, and I would listen to the tapes, and I remember saying to the guys in the band, we should do a live album. And apparently live albums were popular at the time, but I don't remember that. But the band was playing great. And we used the RCA mobile unit. Nick Jameson, our longtime producer and bass player as well. He wasn't our bass player at that time. Craig McGregor was. Produced it. It was taken from 2 shows, upstate New York, Syracuse, and somewhere up there. And we did about half a dozen shows, but that's the 2 shows that it came from. We only put out a record. We only had like 5 or 6 songs on it, didn't it?
Yeah,
it's a live album.
Yeah, I remember it being pretty short. There's 6 songs on it. There was 3 songs on the side.
We were actually playing about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes back then. So I know there was a lot more material. I think it was because Warner Brothers, in their infinite wisdom, decided we weren't going to have a double album. If the actually album was in fact a gatefold, so it was meant to have two albums in there, but never mind. I went to Warner Brothers about 7 or 8 years ago and talked to some people there about finding the tapes for that, and they said, well, we don't know where they are. I said, well, let me go down, I'll have a look. They said, you're not allowed down there. And I said, why not? They said, nobody's allowed down there. So, who knows? Anyway, we're going to carry on without that. And Sonic Mojo, you had a chance to listen to it at all?
I heard one song. I don't have the album yet. I heard one song and it blew me away.
That's a sin. He doesn't have the album.
Yeah, nobody sent me the album. I'm working on it.
All right. Well, that's our office is slipping.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna write about it and promote it, and because I love your band. I saw your band the first time I ever saw Foghat was at the Comac Arena. Do you remember playing the Comac Arena?
Yes, I do actually. I remember a number of times we played there.
Yeah.
We were headlining. Was that an ice rink or something?
It was, yeah, it was actually an ice rink. There was a team called the Long Island Ducks that used to play there.
Yeah, I remember that. Because that was a local gig for us. We were all, I mean, I still live on the island, but we all lived there at the time. So we had a lot of friends coming that night. Yeah, it was cool.
It was general admission.
Yeah.
I stood up right against the stage.
$7?
Yes, probably something like that. It was under 10.
Yeah, right.
I mean, everything was under 10 in the 70s.
Yeah. What happened?
I do remember something very unusual, though. I remember I think there was a biker gang who was hired as security for the place.
Really?
Yeah. Something like that.
I remember a couple of gigs we did where a couple of biker gangs turned up. I can't remember.
Or maybe they just took over security.
No. Hey, nothing wrong with people who ride motorbikes. I haven't ridden one since 76 was the last time I rode. I'm not allowed.
I'm from the area that you guys used to live.
I knew how to ride, but it's dangerous on the roads. And a drummer, your hands, your feet, your legs, your arms. And in fact, I was going to buy a rebuilt Triumph at the time. Our front of house engineer had rebuilt it and wanted to sell it. He wanted to work on something else. So I called up our management and said, give Bob $1,000, please. And they said, okay. And then I got a call back. They said, what's that for? I said, I bought a bike. What bike costs $1,000? Oh, it's a Triumph. Good bike. Wow. They said, are you kidding? Do you know how much it costs for insurance for you to insure your cars, being the drummer in a rock and roll band? Actually, up to this point, I've never had an accident. I got stumped once for speeding on the Long Island Expressway. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was around. I was perfectly sober as well because I didn't drink or drive. And I was doing over 130 miles an hour.
A little fast, Roger.
Yeah, a bit fast. And I went past this policeman. And as soon as I saw him, I started slowing down. And, I pulled over. There was nobody on the road. In fact, I went to a friend's who was opening a restaurant in Manhattan. And I had one glass of wine and had some food as well. And I had a friend with me who was pretty whacked, but I was completely sober. And I pulled over and license and registration. He went back to his car, then came back to me. And I said, I'm sorry, officer, I was going a bit quick. And he said, a bit quick? Come with me. I go back. There's 137 flashing on his dashboard. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I was just cleaning out the carbs and there was nobody on the road. He said, all right. I said, what do I do about this? He said, just plead guilty to doing 70. He said, I probably won't be there. So I said, thank you, officer. And I've been really good ever since. I got banned from driving for a year and had to behave myself. But that's it. I I'm a lot better behaved these days.
Well, that's rock and roll.
Well, yeah, no, I support our police force. My nephew is a state trooper in New Jersey. Two of my stepsons were police officers in New York. So, no, they have a rough job. I mean, I don't envy them what they have to do. I mean, we were talking to one of them, Rich, and he said, Roger, I spend my day chasing bad guys through the woods and all sorts of crap. It's like, but we need them. I mean, the cops I know are decent people, and I always support our police officers.
Sure. So now you guys made your home on Long Island. What brought you to Long Island from England? What was the pull?
I got off the boat.
Okay. Well, oh, you got me there.
Actually, our first manager I met in '69 when I came over to the States with Savoy Brown. He was working for a beer company that was supporting the first tour that Savoy Brown was on. We were on the tour with a band called The Nice and another English band. Yeah, and we were talking, and I told him, I had this sort of thing for fishing, and he said, "You ever caught a bluefish or a striped bass?" I said, "No, what's that?" So he invited me out to his parents' house out in Rocky Point, and I met the chief and Alice, his mum, and went fishing, caught my first bluefish, and said, "Whoa, this is fun." And I fell in love with the place. I have lots of friends there. I've lived there pretty much ever since 1973. Actually, I bought my first house in 76, I think, but I'd rented houses there. I lived on West Meadow Beach one summer.
That's where the bluefish are.
That's right. But that was interesting.
I used to go fishing off that beach.
Did you? Yeah, it was. I spent the whole summer there one time with my oldest daughter at the time, and yeah, we had a good time. She used to get seasick because I had a boat there as well, but that was a bit rotten. What a rotten dad I was. So, yeah, no, it's a beautiful part of the country, and I've made a lot of friends out there, and I call it home. The big sandbar.
Now, was Boogie Studios? Did you own Boogie Studios or Boogie Motel? I should say. Sorry.
Boogie Motel, yeah, yeah. When did we open that? I think 1980. We did three Boogie Motel,
right?
Yeah, right. That's right. That was the first time we did. We did 2 or 3 more after that. Then I think we sold it to some people. Actually, I went there recently because we're doing a documentary on the band, and our manager insisted that we have to do something, including Boogie Motel in Port Jefferson, and yeah, it was a really cool time. One of the things I learned from that was that if you're going to be productive as a band, you need to have a place where you can record regularly, and I guess at your sort of leisure, if you will. So that's why we've got a studio down here in Florida. January, February, March, things are a bit slow touring. I don't like touring in the winter, to be honest with you. Ice, snow, getting held up at some strange airport that shuts down at midnight and you have to stay there. Anyway, that's trials and tribulations of the road. But now you have to have somewhere where you can make music. I mean, that's what it's about, being a musician, being productive. I mean, that was the reason I became a drummer, because I was a music fan, listening to like Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry, Muddy Waters. That was the reason I wanted to play music. In fact, those are the records that I used to sort of sit down and try and learn to play to.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are some musicians that like to have, I mean, if you own the studio, it's like having sort of your home studio nowadays.
Yeah.
But there are also people that don't like that like to be on the clock and go in and just record. How do you feel? Do you feel more comfortable just having your own place?
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, Brian Bassett is our engineer and producer, and it's easy for us. It's easy for us to there's no red light. We just set up and play and jam, and we seem to get a lot done. And it's like I said, it's not something we have to do overnight, or that we don't have a time limit on it. We have our own record company, Foghat Records. We've got a brilliant manager. She looks nice too. But it works for us. Hold on a second. The brilliant one is coming in now. We're going to start rehearsing for the upcoming shows. And come and say hello, Brian. This is Brian Bassett. Put your head in there.
Hey,
hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Big fan. I love your guitar playing, man. And Brian, you've been with Roger now the longest, right? You've been with Foghat for 20 years, I believe.
Yep.
27.
Well, altogether 27, but
27 years.
Since 99, pretty much continuously.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And now you have a new singer, Scott Holt, is your new vocalist, right?
Right.
And that's
He's in the other room, actually.
okay, the whole band's there. You're about to start rehearsing for the shows.
And our bass player is doing something else. He's taking care of some business somewhere else.
So when you start rehearsing the songs for the shows and the songs that are recent that you just recorded on the albums, does it just come right back to you, like, the way you did it in the studio?
Yeah, we'll know in about 15 minutes. But we are already playing 3 in the set, right. And we've already rehearsed one on live on stage. So I think they'll come back pretty easy. And the way we recorded these songs, where we tailored them to be played live on stage, so I think they'll come back pretty good.
One of the interesting things that I noted after we finished the record, in fact, some radio folks noted none of the songs are more than 4 minutes. I mean, we used to do 6, 7, 8, 9-minute songs, but now all of a sudden we've got, I think the way we compose stuff and like we get it right. Well, I think we understand what we're doing now, do we?
Yeah, but that was a little bit of a surprise, after the tradition of slow ride. Yeah, we looked at the record and said, wow, there's 4-minute songs on here. But it was just the way we arranged them, and that's we sat down and arranged all the songs before we actually recorded them. So I think that had a lot to do with it. There wasn't a lot of improvising when we got to the solo sections.
Well, you had fun.
Yeah, we did have our fun. But yeah,
they're probably going to. Are you going to change the arrangements when you start? You're probably going to rehearse them like they were on the record, but when you start playing live, things happen.
No,
well, sometimes. I think our goal this time was to be able to play more songs in our set. When we have 3 or 4 extravaganzas already in there that we get to improvise on and have a lot of fun with. So I think we wanted to have more tunes played as opposed to a lot more jamming.
Yeah. But there's always that moment when you're playing a tune and it's just working so well, and the crowd's going nuts. And you kind of feel like you just want to extend it a little bit longer because you just don't want to let go of that.
You know what happens? You know what really happens? The drummer forgets the arrangement. And they go, oh, I thought we were supposed to finish there. And I said, no.
Yeah.
A good example of extending a song was I Just Want to Make Love to You. We started doing a very slow intro, like for maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds of the old Muddy Waters version, down tempo, and then kick into our version. And that kept getting longer and longer and longer to the point that when we recorded it for CD, we actually had to make it a separate song because the intro became 5 or 6 minutes of guitar improvisation. So it was loosely arranged, but it just kept extending and extending just because we had so much fun playing. And that.
This is a Brian too. He spells it different from you.
The Secret Society of Brian.
The Secret Society. Do they have a book out called Brian yet? No, they have a Brian book.
There's a Life of Brian.
The Life of Brian, right?
Monty Python movie. Yes, that's what we have. Do you have a certain song you're going to open the shows with? Are you going to change it every night, or you're going to have that big opener?
For the City.
Yeah.
That's what we've been using this year and probably continue next year.
Yeah, that was in fact written about New York. We when we recorded that on the Fall for the City album, and I have a quick story about that. We were up in Sharon, Vermont, and we had a house up. We took about 3 months off to do that album, and we're back at the house about 3 or 4 in the morning. And Dave and I are sitting there and having a glass of wine. And I said to Dave, I said, how many chords has Fall for the City got? He knew where I was going with this. And he said, there's only 3, Rog. There's some passing chords, but they don't matter. A lot of passing chords in there, aren't there?
And what did you guys used to say? Any song with more than 3 chords should be viewed with a certain amount of suspicion.
Yeah, not everybody has to play those passing chords, right? Some people could just skip over.
He's a piano player.
Yeah.
All right.
So Sonic Mojo, where is it?
Yes.
Brian doesn't have any of the tracks. He's only got one, Linda.
So is it coming out on CD too? CD?
Yes, CD. Hold on, let me find the CD for you. Here's a signed one. The band all signed that, and of course, look.
Oh, look at that! That looks beautiful. Triple gatefold.
Yeah,
you know, old time classic rock fans appreciate stuff like that.
Well, yeah, there's stories to tell, and our manager understands that sort of thing. She did all the artwork and everything.
That's what I always loved the Boogie Motel album, where you pull down, you had this crazy picture, you know. I mean, that's great.
Dave did that.
Who did that?
Yeah, stories.
Scott did that.
We can actually tell stories now. We're not quite as wild as we used to be.
But you know, you can't get that in an MP3 download.
No, you can't, and that's why I like. Actually, I have a record player now, thanks to Scott Holt. He bought me one for one of my birthdays, and I can play vinyl. There is a difference, even to my jaded eardrums. Listening to vinyl is like it's a whole nother world. You know, when the speakers are like pulsing at you. CDs are very practical. I have a CD player in my car. I'm not buying any more new cars. They don't have CD players in them. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Oh, I've written a lot of articles about that. It's nothing worse than not having a CD player in the car.
What about having options?
Yeah, like a CD player, in the car.
Yeah.
Now they got USB sticks, and you got to put MP3s on USB sticks to listen to your music in the car. It's pretty frustrating.
It just keeps changing. Well, actually, change is okay, but it seems to be happening every year now. Actually, every couple of months, isn't it now? Almost.
Yeah, between that and changing cables for your computers and phones.
Yeah, all the car dealers are doing it now. They're not putting CD players in cars anymore.
No,
the younger people don't buy CDs. They don't. Some younger people now in their teens never even saw a CD. We used to laugh that they never saw a record, but now they've never saw a CD. Things have changed.
That's a sin. Yeah, but it's nice to see a medium like vinyl come back.
Yeah.
So I know my teenagers want. I was going to give away my record collection to a local shop, and they were like, "No, we want them." So my daughter's room looks like mine in 1972.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd.
It was a female thing. It was a young teenage girl thing that's happened in the past 10 years, because they were selling these Crawley record players in fashion stores, and these girls started seeing these record players, in the window next to all this clothes, and it was brilliant marketing. And
we'd be nothing without women.
Yeah, that's a pretty good statement there, Roger.
We'd be nothing without women.
Yeah,
actually. We have a female manager, actually, in the office. They're all women. That's not sexist to say something like that.
Nope. And all very talented.
They're all very talented, yes.
Yeah.
And we keep all the testosterone out on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear the new album and listen to the new album. It's like I've been a fan since the 70s when I was in my teens, and I've brought every single record from your band. I've seen you many times. I saw you play the Coliseum with Sweet in the 70s.
Right. I remember that.
You remember that?
I remember that.
What was it like? I mean, Sweet was kind of a glam pop band.
Yeah, but they play well. They're good players.
Yeah.
We showed them not last year, the year before, I think. But I guess like a lot of bands, we're at that point where you keep losing people. Sweet sounded good. Actually, this last summer we did a bunch of tour dates. We did ZZ Top,
Cheap Trick, Starship.
It was great. It was ZZ Top's one of my favorite bands anyway, so it was cool hanging out with them. But hey, you know, it's only rock and roll, but we like it.
We like it.
Yeah. Who did that song?
Speaking of
Rolling Stones. That's my second quiz question, right?
Yeah.
Goat's Head Soup.
Goat's Head Soup. It was a good one.
Goat's Head Soup is the album that song was on.
Is that what it was on?
Yeah, it was on Goat's Head.
Right.
Only Rock and Roll was on Goat's Head's. No, maybe it wasn't Goat's Head Soup. I think it was the next album.
Scott,
I could be wrong.
I know it's only rock and roll, but I like it. What record was that on?
I know it's only rock and roll, but I like it.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, boy, I got that wrong. Yeah, and I think that was the follow-up where they were walking down the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I think maybe we should. Well, I want to include that in one of our songs, but maybe not this week. No.
Are you doing any like well, you've always done covers, you've always done blues covers. Is there anything more recent that you're doing in the set, or is it mostly just the Foghat?
Foghat records. On this record, of course, we got 3 or 4 blues songs, couple of country tunes, definitely some rock and roll and boogie. It's like a collection of all our thoughts and loves and likes as far as music goes. My brother Colin co-wrote with us one of the songs. What is that? I wish I'd been there when Hank Williams came to town.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, it is
sort of a lament about not being able to see him live in his heyday.
Yeah, say that about a bunch of people. Actually, we did one song, a Chuck Berry song called "Promised Land," and Scott Holt and I were sitting here one night and talking about the fact that he saw Elvis Presley. I mean, I never saw Elvis Presley live, but his mother, I think, took him to see Elvis Presley, and Elvis did "Promised Land," which is a Chuck Berry song. I'd heard Chuck's version, and Dave Edmunds did a version, a real good version. And I said, maybe we should try that. And I think it was one take, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the last song on the record. It's got a little bit of actually, Chuck, again, embraced just about every form of American music, didn't he? Blues, jazz, country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Elvis released that as a single, The Promised Land. I think I have the 45 of that.
Really?
Yeah, I believe he released it as a single. Yeah, I had tickets to go see Elvis Presley, and he died a month later. I was at the Coliseum. I saw it was August of '78, and he died. I think it was like 2 weeks after I had bought the tickets to go see him.
Yeah, that was sad. I remember once we were staying. This is in the '70s. We were staying in Knoxville, Tennessee, at a hotel, and Elvis Presley had the top floor of the hotel. And I remember talking to our manager or road manager at the time saying, do you think maybe we could see Elvis? And it didn't happen. I mean, I've read stories about, when you walk into a room and there's Elvis Presley, you go. But his early stuff, that's the music that I got into when he was on the Sun record label. Yeah. Elvis Presley's early stuff and the music and the band that he had. I mean, that was incredible. I remember listening to it. What was I, about 12? Something like that. About 12 years old, I think, when I heard it first. And I couldn't quite figure out all the lyrics, what he was singing, but I knew they were great.
Oh, I mean, he inspired so many.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
his band was incredible, an incredible band. J.D. Fontana on drums, who played Bill Black bass, who played guitar. Come on, who was a guitar player?
Okay,
no.
Stump the guitar player.
I've never heard of Stumps.
He's quite famous.
Yeah,
anyway,
I
got guitar that question.
I'm thinking Scott or something, but I can't remember.
All right, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Well,
you got me.
Never mind.
Got me twice today, Roger. I was doing pretty well in the beginning, but you got me twice.
No, it's not coming to me. That's if Scott was here, he would know.
He would know, yeah.
But he's out there now, isn't he? What's he doing?
I think his name is Scott, the guitar player.
Hmm?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Something Scott.
Yeah, I think it
Scott
was
something.
Scott. But I just can't
Scotty.
remember.
Oh, Scotty
Scotty
Moore.
Scotty Moore.
Scotty Moore.
Yeah.
Da,
No,
da,
you got it.
da. Scotty
Yeah.
Moore.
Yes.
Scotty Moore. Scotty Moore. Scotty Moore. Scotty Moore.
There you go.
Oh,
And this is what I meant when I was talking about drummers with lots of personality.
it's
Well,
going that way. Didn't know Scotty Moore. I mean, that's a sin.
Yeah.
But we got it right.
Yeah.
We got it right in the end. I mean, that early stuff was incredible. That influenced me and made me want to play drums. JD Fontana was his drummer, but it was the sound and the way they played. It was magic. You know, Elvis was great, and then later on he started doing some strange stuff. But there again, we could all be excused to doing strange stuff as we get older. No, do it when we're younger.
And you were what? You were in England at that time, right? When you were hearing that music for the first time?
Yeah, I grew up in Southwest London. My older brother Colin would buy all the Sun Records stuff. I was a big fan of Johnny Cash as well. Even though he didn't have a drummer in his band, there was always this really like music going. And Johnny Cash always had stories. Every single song he wrote and played had a story. That's what got me into Johnny Cash. I think my older brother as well, but it was always a story. I didn't always understand what they were. Like, she loves you, Big River, more than me. Whoa, met her accidentally in St. Paul, Minnesota. Show me up every time she drove. I'll stop it. I'm sorry. But now Johnny Cash was absolutely brilliant. I never got to see him either or meet him, but his music lives on forever. And in fact, Scott brought me a double album of Johnny Cash, best. Well, they're all great, and I put it on regularly at home, usually late at night, and it takes me back to when I was a teenager riding my bike to school, singing Johnny Cash songs.
And it's funny because it was the producer Rick Rubin who started working with Johnny Cash in the 90s, who also brought you guys back together, right? For
I don't know why that didn't happen. Dave and I, David moved back to England for a while, then he came back here, and we couldn't seem to sort of get it organized. And Rick Rubin wanted to do an album with the original members of Foghat, so that enabled us to get back together. And though it didn't work out, I think maybe Rick Rubin was even busy with Johnny Cash
I think he had 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even 5 projects before yours.
Yeah,
It
so
was
that,
just a matter of
and
time.
this was the album that you did, right? Return of the Boogeyman.
actually, but I think we're going to be able to re-release that. It didn't come out on vinyl, but because Foghat, we own the rights to the record, so I think we're going to put it out. We're going to try and put it out in the next year or two on vinyl. So that would be cool, I think.
This is a great CD. There are 12 songs on it. It's modern records. I remember seeing it in the store and going, "Wow, they're
gone.
They're back. Foghat is back." You know, and this is the original band on here, right? It's Tony Stevens.
It was a lot of fun making that record. Dave came up with a bunch of ideas. Rod was playing really great guitar. One of my favorite songs on there is "Jump That Train," and it might be the opening song.
The opening track, yeah. Great.
Nick Jameson produced the record, so you know it sounds really good. It was a lot of fun making that record. Again, we had a house out in LA where we all sort of hung out together. Brian actually co-wrote one of the songs with Dave, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I have 2 co-writes with Dave on there, Angel of Mercy
and Play Dirty.
Play Dirty.
Yeah. So we're all linked up. We're all related some way or another.
Yeah. Then there was a few more albums after that. Family Jewels, I think, was, and the one last of the what was it called? The last one was Under the Influence, where you're kicking.
Under the Influence.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't about drugs and drinking. It was actually about music. It was about that's what it was about, because that's the influence we're all under, music. without music, life would be a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah,
Certainly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been said
What
many
about you?
times in many different ways.
Yeah. And I think music also helps to it sort of makes moments in time for like people. You remember where you were at certain times. I think it's still true today. It was certainly true for me growing up. I remember certain times when certain records were popular and being played. Without music, life would be
A mistake.
a mistake. Yeah.
And some of my favorite memories are the concerts that I, went to when I was young. Probably why I'm a player now.
Well,
And,
that's what happens.
you know,
You see something, you hear something, and it changes your life. It's amazing how a record or a performance can change your life forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up in Pittsburgh. We had great promoters there, DeCesar Engler, and 3 or 4 really great venues. And I think every major band played through there from the late 60s up into the 80s. I got to see everybody, that Bowie, ELP, Little Richard. I mean, Allman Brothers, Leon Russell.
Yeah.
Return to Forever. I mean, it was endless.
What band were you in 1976?
Wild Cherry with our sort of a one-hit wonder deal there.
Yeah.
Funky music.
Well, you play that
fun.
funk. We actually do that on stage now from time to time as an encore, first encore, isn't it? Yes, it's good fun. Everybody seems to know it. That's what's play that funky music and slow ride. It's like the place erupts.
Well, slow.
So,
it's funny how Slow Ride became very popular with kids who were playing Guitar Hero, because that was one of the songs in Guitar Hero.
Right.
And it's just so interesting how they discovered your band through a video game.
There was a time when we would have tons of like 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds who sign my guitar. No, that was getting your records played on that, our songs rather played on Guitar Hero, and in movies and car ads and burger commercials. You can't pay for that kind of publicity. It's Foghat. They're singing about burgers.
And now we have 3 generations. We do a lot of all age shows and outdoor festivals and things, and we'll see our original fans who are now sometimes grandparents and their kids and then their kids' kids. So
I mean, I'm 62 years old. I was a fan when I was 16. I was going to your shows in the 70s. I always would hear rumors that you were playing Tui's in Setauket. I don't know if you remember.
That's right. We used to go there, and before we go on tour, we would play there. We would open it. We would take a day off and go there and play whatever set we were going to be playing. I was really good friends with one of the owners of Tui's, Joe Basirico. Still am really good friends with him. He's moved down to Virginia, I think. I keep in touch. We keep in touch. So he was a really good friend. He was also our road manager for a short while. But Tui's, that was a great club.
Yeah,
we had possibly too much fun. No, I've never heard of such.
Long Island had a great nightclub rock and roll scene in the 70s with clubs like the Mad Hatter and Cheers and Baby Huey's and Hammerheads opens up, and I mean the bar bands were Twisted Sister or Zebra. They were bar bands.
Right.
That all pretty big.
Great band as well, and as was Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
It was this guitar player in Zebra. I saw him recently down in
Randy Jackson.
Randy Jackson. Met him down there. Some of us are still around.
Yeah. So I mean that it was a thriving scene, the 1970s Long Island scene, and it went into the 80s too. I mean things changed in the 90s, but
where would you bands play these days? Or maybe the music has changed that much.
No, there are still clubs. There are clubs on the island that people go to. I just did a concert at the Long Island Museum in Stony Brook. We did a tribute to Jimmy Webb.
Right.
Yeah.
The Long Island Music and Hall of Fame, that one?
No, it's actually on 25A, where 25A kind of turns around and goes from St. James into Stony Brook, it used to be called the Carriage House Museum. And
Oh,
they got a beautiful room in there. It's called the Gillespie Room. They got a big Steinway grand piano, and they do concerts there every Sunday. It's sponsored by WUSB. I'm sorry?
would they allow drums in there?
Yeah, we do drums in there. We do shows all the time in there. And the Port Jefferson Arts Council sponsors the shows, which
Okay.
you might be familiar with, and WUSB, which is the Stony Brook University radio station.
Yeah.
And every year we do a Bob Dylan tribute show where we have all these different artists come in and we all play. And we did a Jimmy Webb show just 2 weeks ago, and Jimmy Webb filmed something for us to talk about the show. It was pretty nice, and lots of great artists, and it's a nice room.
Because just down the road in Stony Brook, there's the Long Island Music Hall of Fame.
Yes, Norm Proslin
Right.
is part of that.
Yeah, right.
Which we're in.
Yeah, some fantastic musicians have come out of Long Island.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and especially that area, the Stony Brook area.
Yeah, what it must be in the water.
It must be in the water. Yeah. Yes. It's always been a thriving scene, Long Island. It's just there's always been so much talent. It's New York. There's so much talent here.
Yeah.
You could always find a musician.
Yeah. What about Joan Jett? Joni? What a talent.
Yeah. Another great one.
We haven't done dates with her. She's out on the road with somebody, right?
Well, she just finished the tour. She was on that stadium tour. I don't know if it's still going on, but it was with Motley Crue, and I think she was one of the openers on that. Who else was Def Leppard was on that tour?
Oh, wow.
And her and one other
she
band.
toured with Boston a couple of years ago, and I saw them at Jones Beach, and it was. Have you ever played Jones Beach Theater, the amphitheater?
No, I haven't actually. I've been there a number of times. See bands. Saw Tom Petty there. A whole bunch of bands. Bad Company seen there. Tom Petty was great, as was Bad Company. But
yeah,
Joe Walsh. I've seen Joe Walsh. He's great. Though he doesn't come from Long Island, but let's not hold that against him.
No, he's more over my neck.
I think he's from Colorado, Joe Walsh.
I think he ended up there, but he had his early band, James Gang, were a club band in the tri-state area of Ohio, Pittsburgh area, but he played up in Kent State, which is, on eastern Ohio. And
I interviewed Kenny Passarelli, who was in the band with Joe Walsh, Barnstorm, and he had a lot of great Joe Walsh stories. I mean, that's before the James Gang, Barnstorm.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Fox was the drummer. He actually substituted for our Wild Cherry drummer on a couple shows, believe it or not, back in the 70s.
Joe Walsh, what a great guitar player as well. And his songs. Now, there's somebody who injects humor into his lyrics. It's not just about women or sex or anything. It's like funny. Joe Walsh is an absolute riot. And great and wonderful sense of humor. Wonderful sense of humor. Maybe he should have been vice president, not president.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out. It's funny how the personality comes out in the music.
Didn't he run for president or something as a joke one year? I can't remember.
He made a song about it. If he was president.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, well, let's leave the presidents alone.
Yes. Yeah. Let's stay away from that topic.
Stay away from that.
Yes. So how long is the tour going to be? Because I don't want to keep it much longer, because you've been so kind and giving me so much time here.
The tour is going to be forever and ever until we're not here anymore, and then the records will take over.
That's the greatest tour you could do.
I'm going to play until I can't play anymore. I love what I do. I play in a great band. These guys are just a riot to play with, super talented musicians, and we function and play as a band. We play as a band, we function as a band. And Foghat always did, certainly when it was functioning well, it played as a band. When the four of us get on stage, you're a band and you rely on each other. And being the drummer and myself and the bass player, Rodney O'Quinn, an absolute fantastic bass player, we often say, you two guys would be nothing without us. No, you don't really say that. Do we?
We'd be really loud and like unlistenable without you back there.
Well,
It's just be two loud guitar players or wailing.
No, we have a good time. We
well,
really
that's
do.
part of the successful band thing is being friends with each other. And
Yeah, we are.
I see it right here in front of me. I'm watching the two of you interact with each other, and I could see the friendship there, and that's what it's all about.
I think obviously, sometimes some people function when it's dysfunctional, or if there was some kind of aggravation or aggro going on. But we function best playing as a unit, playing as a band. In fact, Brian said something a number of years ago to me that made sense. He said, playing music with other musicians is like having a conversation, which a loud one when it comes to me, but it has the ring of truth. That's what you're doing. You're having a conversation with music. It's and once again, I know how fortunate I am to be doing it and to playing with these guys. It's a band.
Yeah, it becomes a family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
It becomes a family.
It is like a
I
family.
know I spent many years on the road playing in cover bands, and we'd get one night off a week sometimes, and then we'd all be hanging out on our night off. We'd be going, what are we doing hanging out with each other? It's our night off. And it's just
Yeah, we eat together. We sit together after the show and have a glass of wine or two. And yeah, life is good. Life is good.
Well, Roger, I'm going to let you go. Thank you, Brian, for coming on in and talking too. I love your band. This has been a thrill to speak with you. Thanks for all the years of great music that you've given to the millions of fans like myself who've, been inspired and most importantly, just enjoyed listening to the records and seeing you in concert. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Brian. It's been a pleasure talking to you too. We've got to make some noise, Brian.
We are.
We learn some songs. Hold on.
Time for rock and roll. And there it is. You can lift it up. Dramatic closing.
Mojo.
All right. I'll make sure everybody knows about it.
All right. Thank you, Brian. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Brian.
Take care now. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.